not bad. So welcome in. I'm glad to have you all. How have you been doing?
Sleepy.
Sleepy. That's fair. That's fair. I guess we should go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves. I guess I'll kick it off. I'm EvaUnalove. I already introduced myself, but here we are. I'm EvaUnalove. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm an intersectional feminist, and I talk about feminism on my stream. That's pretty much what I do. I'm a snug social justice warrior. So that's me. Trihex, if you want to take it away.
Oh, hey everyone. I'm Trihex. I'm the face of Try Hard, probably the most banned emote on Twitch. I think it's always a good opener to throw that out there. That way when they get to know me, the contrast from the facts versus the person, kind of make a good conversation starter and a good icebreaker. I am, oh boy, how would I define myself here? I am politically active. I am progressive. I am an advocate for gay rights, trans rights, allied to LGBTQIA, all that fun, wonderful stuff. And I'm sorry, I didn't prepare a thing. Forgive me. I don't know where to really end it and did I do enough yet? I'm not sure.
You're good, Trihex. You
we'll
rocked it.
We'll add in more as we get into it. Cool. All right.
Janami, who are you?
Me. That was short, too short. I'm a variety streamer. I'm a variety streamer here. We do lots of game playing, usually Soulsborne or platformers. We have a very cozy, comfy community, welcoming for everyone. We want to provide a safe space. Topics like LGBTQ topics, mental health are usually coming up. A lot of that's things we tackle and talk about. And I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. You were Janami's probably one of my longest term Twitch friends. So it's really incredible to have you here. I really appreciate you joining us. Uni, who are you?
Hello. I'm still figuring it out. Hi everyone, I am Unithelionroars. I am a variety gaming streamer here on Twitch. I play a lot of spooky games. If that's your stuff, that's cool. Come visit. If that's not, yeah, you're gonna hear me scream a lot. So yeah, headphone users beware when I play games. I am slowly getting into the activist niche. Sure, I messed up and told Eva I talk a lot about political stuff while I play games. Now I'm trying to get into the leftist community as well. I talk a lot about trans topics and safe places for men to come to liberate, not to encourage the patriarchy, of course. But yeah, come by if you want to hear me scream about manyest topics.
It just occurred to me that we could have just had a nice little men's liberation panel today. Like, it didn't even... I was trying to invite one other person, and they were a little busy. And now we could have just had a cozy men's lib panel. We'll have to do that sometime. I don't know, Trihex, are you... I know I get to talk to Janami a little and Uni a little on this, but do you have any opinions, or are you familiar with men's liberation within the feminist movement?
Ooh, that okay. I wouldn't say formally, probably not, but if I had to interpret from context clues, we're talking about in general things men could advocate for but are scared to do so for perception reasons, or am I completely off on that one?
Yeah, so a lot of times what I push men's liberation a lot because in feminist spaces, because it does seem like some men will occasionally pick up men's rights talking points, or they will try to bring up a valid concern like men like not being considered able to rape someone, for example, right? So, or not rape someone, to be raped, excuse me.
To be raped. Okay,
And,
right.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion there. And then they try to bring this up and talk about it in the ways that gender plays into how men experience rape and get shut down. Or maybe they do this at unfortunate times, like when we're talking about the overwhelming rape statistics that women are experiencing. And then they go, well, men are raped too. And yes, that's an important topic to cover. So I think one of the issues in men's liberation is getting people that space to talk about those issues and not sound like we're trampling over together trampling over each other, but we're working together.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if you were familiar or had any men's liberation topics that you're particularly passionate about.
Ooh. I didn't do any prep in that direction, unfortunately.
No,
I
that's
probably
fine.
do, but I can't think of any offhand right now that I'm like out swinging, ready to roll for.
Mhm.
Probably because there's like way more like I don't want to sound like jaded about it here, but like there's probably way more immediate topics that come to mind before I get to like men's liberation, to be totally
No,
honest.
I absolutely hear you on that. I absolutely hear you on that. And I expected when I started talking about men's liberation on this platform that people would be like, oh my goodness, of all the issues a feminist could talk about, but it's actually been received like pretty well, so that's good. And I'm glad to see like more areas popping up. I know Janami is very open to that, and Uni and I have had some conversations as well. So, but Trihex is like, I didn't prep for this. What did you prep for? Veganwary. We were going to talk a little bit about Veganwary. So, do you all know what Veganwary is to start off?
Ooh, it's
Sounds-
January, but
I was
it's
gonna
the
say
whole month
February.
focused on veganism.
Yeah,
Or my
yeah.
or that's my guess. That was my Hail Mary. I was hoping that was it.
You did better than me. I said February.
All right, Uni. Oh my goodness, that's understandable though. Yeah, it does start in January. It is January, and it's a time where a lot of people will sign up to go vegan for the month to try it out, make a pledge. I didn't go vegan during Veganuary, and I actually don't really recommend people just go straight up vegan on Veganuary without prep because, well, could you see some issues in that?
It's a big commitment. You're asking a
Mhm.
very abrupt lifestyle change to something that, in terms of like eating meat, it's a lifelong thing you've probably been doing. So it requires, AKA, you've been doing it for years, if not decades. So to
Mhm.
abruptly change something that you had decades of habit built into probably takes a little more prep than just a spontaneous, arbitrary 30-month duration to really commit to it and figure out if you like it or if you're
Mhm.
gonna just burn out because like it's too much change too rapidly at one time.
Yeah. And then also, a lot of people get sick if they just change their diet that intensely. Like that. And we have a silly little quote from me on our bits that says, if you haven't cried in the grocery store, you are not a real vegan. And it's a joke based on how much I literally just cried because I went vegan pretty quickly and I didn't know what I was doing. And it was overwhelming because meat to me is like flesh, right? And so that is something that was a little overwhelming to like be coming up against and realizing that intensely. And then also not knowing what to get. And I was just overwhelmed. So that smoother transition, I think, is really important. But none of you are vegan, are you?
No, but there is some exciting news here though on that. But well, I don't know if we want to get into like my recent developments with this, but
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
oh, well, so I've always been considering it. I did try out keto in November 2017. I tried it out for almost a full month. It was for about 22 days, and I was not able to get into like deep ketosis. I got burnt out from it. I felt
Mhm.
fatigued. I felt the keto flu. I felt like I was yawning and just ready to fall asleep within being awake for only 4 hours, trying to commit to this like the extremely high fat diet. You do get bored of everything. You get bored of meat, cheese, and bacon. It gets boring after 4 days of it nonstop. It's really exhausting. And that because that one hit me in a really sour spot, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna approach this a little differently next time. Because I did admittedly go into keto like full YOLO very abruptly, like hey, it's November, I want to try it out, and I tried it out, and it was like, whoa, I got woken that really quick here.
Yeah.
So comparatively, I was like, okay, well, I really, there was a point in the past where I talked to some friends or even on my own stream here about like veganism and like the ethics of consuming meat, especially when we have like a the excess of mass consumption of meat right now, the methane from
Mhm.
all the animals, at least like another the other unspoken huge aspect of climate change that like doesn't get enough attention. Honestly, is
Yeah.
that the meat, the I don't know, the what do you want to call it, carnivore market or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, is it? knowing what damage it does now and me contributing to it by consuming meat, debatably needlessly here, could I be doing better? And what's my role played in the whole equation right now? It's something that admittedly I've wanted to revisit for quite a while, but I've been putting off because it's a big thing to get into. And
Mhm.
recently, I was like, man, I really want to get into this whole. I want to try out a plant-based diet. I want to try out to see where this goes here because now I saw some stuff and I'm like, well, I saw like a For Fun documentary on Netflix about it, and like, there's a lot to unpack there. A lot of Olympian athletes, a lot of some record-breaking power lifters, a lot of just like key. I mean, athlete after athlete. The documentary was beating me up about how like they age 32 were doing this, and then age 37 after multiple years of plant-based diets, smashing their numbers and better health, just all these things here. And the idea that like, ultimately the quality of the meat you're getting, the quality of the protein you're consuming from meat is based off what they eat.
Mhm.
So why let the animal be the middleman to the nutrition when you can just eat what they're eating directly? And and you can just back it up with you getting vitamin B12 supplements to like get what you would get from eating animals otherwise, and you're good to go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dang, this is, like, really got me thinking about it right now." So, the news is that I tried out an Impossible Burger. I tried out, the plant-based, burger made out of, like, seeds and other stuff, and it was actually really, really good.
You
I know
liked
it's not the
it?
cleanest thing in the world. No, yeah, genuinely, yes. It was actually really, really good. I
Did
was
you turn
I was
into
super
a
impressed.
girl? Did you see the news around that?
Yeah, that's so
Oh
funny
my
to
god, you
me.
consume soy, you're automatically that's a wrap, you're done. No, it was really good. I'm like, "Okay." And I
Mm.
was like a happy full. It wasn't like I can compare the fools of eating like a regular burger compared to this. This was clearly a less harmful thing or just less bad. If you wanna have like a less intense cheat meal, it's a it's a great way to start. And I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
there is some stuff here. I gotta do some more homework on the whole thing, but I do wanna give it a shot,
Yeah.
and see where that goes."
All
Still
right.
gotta explore the whole thing about the ethics of, like, me, because there's definitely a lot to unpack there too. Like, there's a lot to
Yeah.
go into that. Like, when you dig into, like, how bad gets from treatment of the animals that get consumed into the FDA regulations and their lack of, what's considered a free range for these chickens is
Oh
bad,
my goodness.
the
Yeah.
steroid inducement, the hormone manipulation, there's a lot going on there, and it's just a lot of bad news. And it's ultimately like if you separate the role that we humans have commoditized, like eating meat in mass, what's actually happening to those animals, and in general to the environment as well. It's like, yeah, obviously we should probably not do it to this extent if we don't have to,
Yeah,
but it
absolutely.
requires some combination of systematic reform and debatably individual accountability, and that's a lot for anyone to unpack. So
Yeah.
it's a big topic to
Yeah.
get into, if you would like to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I hear you. I was really excited. I'm really excited to hear that you're considering it. I'm going to be covering veganism quite a bit this month. And I was really excited to open up this PiP with being able to talk to some non-vegans and ask like Janami, have you
Mhm.
tried the Impossible Whopper? Have you considered going vegan? And then another one that a huge question we'll address a little later, but I want to hear so you can think about it a little bit as other people are chatting. What are your critiques of veganism? And that can be anything like your critiques of their messaging, your concerns around veganism. I think that's a really interesting topic. But again, Janami and Uni, have you tried the Impossible Whopper? And have you ever considered like not even just veganism, but a diet change? Like, have you gone through diet changes or?
I have definitely tried going through various diet changes. I have diabetes. I have type 1 diabetes, and
Mm.
um, so when I was like 19, I'm like, I work at Starbucks. I'm like, oh, I can eat anything. Nom nom nom. I'm going through my freshman 15. I'm just like, yeah, I'm fat, and then yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna lose it later, and then so, but then like boom, hit me with diabetes, and then like I lost
Mm.
probably like 30 pounds within 2 weeks. Just being in and out of the hospital, and then like here
Oh,
I come in
wow.
the hospital with like a diet change that they made for me. And I have a good nutritionist coming up to me explaining the changes of like how I need to change how I eat and like the carbohydrates I intake and the amount of like portion sizes and whatnot to like, do this. I'm still a bad diabetic. But the conversation did come up with me and my father about like, maybe trying being a vegetarian or a
Mm.
pescatarian and becoming vegan. I have way more vegan friends now. The struggle with that is that yes, there are like substitutes for like, you can get as much protein you can get from chicken from spinach or like
Mm.
quinoa or nuts or something like that. It's just the struggle with me is the availability of that products.
Yeah.
Because for Thanksgiving I had a Friendsgiving that was totally vegan. And here me being a meat eater all my life had to figure out how to make vegan stuffing. And yes, I was in Trader Joe's like, where do I go? Somebody guide me. Somebody please.
Yeah.
And so
Help.
and then I served it and they were like, hey, my vegan friend who we made this for, because we were all carnivores and we did this for our friend who was vegan and her sister also.
Aw, that's so
And
wholesome.
so yeah, so we had like the turkey way on the other side of the room for all the turkey eaters, but we managed to leave it alone and just was a waste of a waste. But like we all just had like a vegan Thanksgiving, which was very nice, and my stuffing wasn't horrible. So it's not hard. It's just me finding the availability and time to get that.
Mm.
I definitely want to try a diet change, like slowly get into like being vegan. I'm gonna try to be vegetarian and seeing how that goes. Because I also have a vegetarian friend. It's just the switch, and it is a big mental switch.
Yes.
I'm definitely one of the carnivores that are easily like, yeah, I know it's bad. It's super bad. It's horrible, and it does affect like me as like a diabetic, as me as everything. But just growing up the way I did was just like meat was with every plate. If you didn't have meat
Yeah.
with every plate, you're kind of weird. So.
Mhm.
Can you double emphasize that, please? Like, we were raised on you get a meat and two
Mhm.
sides. That's the
Yes.
meal.
Yes.
That's the foundation. That's what it,
Mhm.
and that's what it is until you have to question
Yeah.
it again.
And I've heard
Yeah.
that in the US it's even worse. But Janami, what is your experiences growing up in? Is meat considered a very integral part of your diet where you are?
So, I was born and raised in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and meat is definitely a big part of it. Although my family originally comes from Poland, and meat is an even bigger part of their diet. Like that's not the question. My sister went vegetarian very quickly, actually. I think I'm still very quiet. All right. Thank you for pointing that out. Excuse me. I said that my sister was became vegetarian very quickly, around the age of like 12 or 13, as she found out where meat actually came from. She was shocked. And I remember many discussions with my grandmother, who asked repeatedly, "Are you sick? Are you okay?" And came to my mother like, "Can you please send your daughter to the doctor? This can't be normal."
No.
I'm not kidding. I love my grandma. She's a wonderful, caring, lovingly person. Just has very strong views about this. And in Germany as well, it is traditional. Although the area that I live in right now, there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of students and such. So it is very accessible. Accessibility is not an issue really where I live, luckily. And I have undergone a couple of dietary changes as well. I am doing my best to have regular vegan meals, or rather change it that it's the typical to have a vegan meal, right? That I'm having more vegan or vegetarian meals than eating fish or I almost said flesh. Eva, you left the impression.
Yes! This is my biggest vegan victory. Not getting anyone else to go vegan. Just Janami saying flesh instead of fish. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So yeah, dietary changes have definitely happened. I think there's a lot to be talked about. What meat? Shit, I almost said flesh again. What like how necessary meat really is. Thinking about the diet. and balancing that. Especially like for me, it came up in regards of mental health, right? Food and mental health are very intertwined. Depending on how you eat, you feel a certain way. Like everyone knows that you just delete the pack of chips. What was the English word?
Fries.
Fries?
I use chips, but
Not-
I have like a huge thing. You can't see it, but I have a huge thing of Sour Patch Kids that is a problem.
Crisps.
Crisps.
Thank you. Yes.
That is a hot topic. I'm going to pin Sour Patch Kids, Eva, because we're coming back to that.
Yes.
Because I care about you, and we're gonna talk about the
Oh,
elephant in the room
no.
about Sour Patch
Listen.
Kids.
I only got the biggest bag, okay? It's okay.
I'm not here to assault you about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, okay?
That's it. No more Trihex. No, I'm kidding.
Trihex is cancelled.
But you
Oh
don't even know what direction I'm going in yet. You don't know yet. Hang on now.
No, yeah, I hear you.
About what I wanted to say, crisps. Thank you, chat. Thank you so very much. Yeah, I think everyone knows that feeling of you delete just that entire package of crisps, you open it and suddenly it's gone. You don't know what happened. Probably magic or some form of goblin just in your house living, eating all your stuff. I don't know. I was surely not me. And afterwards you just feel like shit. You just feel garbage. You just can't get up. You're so lethargic. And that can like spiral in a couple of different things. And being mindful of your diet, of what you're eating, how much you're eating of it, the supplements, etc., has definitely had a big impact. However, I am still not vegan. I bring it on there. I wanna do the jump eventually.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. I actually expected all of y'all to be like, "Oh my God, we're talking about veganism, really, Eva?" But it's good to hear.
You got a bunch of what I assume is some left-leaning progressive people in here right now. I can't imagine that. Is there anyone who's like within your social circle who is like oblivious to the debatable what's the word here, ethics of consuming meat? Like, is there anyone who's like in denial of that you can think of, Eva?
I guess
It's kind of the whole thing here, right? Because if the ones who don't think that there's like unhumane treatment of animals and that the overabundance of consumption of meat is not problematic or a problem, those are the ones going to be like, man, can you stop shoving it down my throat? Really? Like, is it really that bad? And it's like, have you seen a documentary lately? Have you seen like what Tyson Meats does to their chickens? Like, right? Those are the ones that are going to be the issue here, I would imagine.
And I guess that's a good point. I just always think like, again, I'm in Indiana and my family is a family of hunters. Right? So sometimes I'm used to the people I am around, but then like my friends, like the people I choose who aren't like conservative hunter, people. Yeah, I think you have a good point. A lot of awareness has been raised recently. I don't know what caused this sudden boom, but all of a sudden we do have this awareness that's just hitting everyone, and I'm really impressed.
Ooh. Well, so when I first visited Seattle for like, it was for a PAX. It was for PAX West, I think in 2016. I because I went to Seattle for it. In Seattle, Washington State. Over there, it's like a whole nother planet. Like being in like the rural or being like in the South, and then you go to like Seattle, it is like planet progressive. It is actually insane. Awesome. And every restaurant I went to was like, it wasn't like beating your head over with like veganism. It was like, here's the vegan menu, and then here's like the non-vegan menu. It was like 50-50. It wasn't like it's an afterthought. No, it was equal treatment, like full on. Like you didn't even try to find it. It was abundance and everywhere. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. All right.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I was just in Seattle for vacation for the holidays, and I know LA is pretty, like, I'm from Los Angeles, California. We're pretty like, progressive over here. Everything like, but there's no sectionary. Like, there's no like, here's the this, here's the this. There's only like little bitty tiny asterisks that maybe the vegans can see, and that says, oh, this actually has like egg merengue in it, and like, So, but in Seattle, like there was like a vegan menu that my friend could look at, and there was just a meat, like a normal menu that like me and my other friend could look at. It was very nice to do that. And I actually like ate like veggie grill more than anything when I was over my vacation because it was like right across the street. Like, and there was like a veggie grill for every like 2 streets, which was like weird for me. So Seattle's definitely doing better than LA, I could probably say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And that brings me back to like just the Impossible Whopper coming out and that accessibility, like, or just that accessibility from Seattle, or from Indiana where I'm at, or wherever you happen to be, to Seattle, and how different that is can be really impactful. But you are also talking, so like that accessibility, but also the kind of confusion in when you switch over and when you start actually trying to do a vegan diet, but you can't eat out all the time, right? So that's something I did want to come back to a little bit. And Janami, you said you're switching over a little, right? And Trihex, you're considering switching over, from my understanding.
Right. I gotta do some prep work though.
Yeah.
The accessibility is the thing I would is probably the hardest part. Kind of like
Yes.
working out, like you don't want to just hop in the gym day one. You don't know what you're doing. You're just overwhelmed with insecurity and ignorance. If you had a vegan associate or friend that you can talk to and get the advice, of hey, well, how'd you start? Where did you begin? Where should I start? I don't know what to do. It would be a lot more welcoming, right? If I had such a person, maybe I do here right now, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, then I would hyper accelerate on the whole thing. But right now I gotta like take it slow and like really figure out what I would meal prep over the course of a week and everything else, and how to meet my macros while working out, etc.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did want to ask, like, what is the hardest part for you so far? Because to me, when I switched over, a lot of people kept telling me, Eva, veganism's so expensive. Like, it's so expensive. It's for like privileged white, rich privileged white people, things like that, right? And I was like, okay, so I'm white, and I'll admit I'm heckin' privileged, but I'm also a broke college kid that like I'm eating bean tacos. Like this week has been bean tacos, okay? And that is like super cheap. And the chili I make is super cheap. But like, so for some people, I think like in food deserts, I never want to like say, oh, you can go vegan regardless of the amount of money you have, because I don't think that's true at all. I think food deserts really have a huge impact. And then also like having the time, I think for me, it was the time and learning how to switch over. And as you were saying, like get your nutrition right, because you're relearning how to eat after having meat in your diet for so long. Would you say that's the biggest struggle for you two as well? Or is there something else? What are some other issues you're running into?
Well, before we answer that question, you should elaborate on food deserts. Not everyone just going to know what that means. From what I understand, actually, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Food deserts or whatever, you're like in typically rural towns where like a Walmart came and wiped out everything selection wise. So you're tethered to whatever the Walmart stocks. There's
Yeah.
no other options. There's no Whole Food. There's no mom and pop shop. It is the big six mass producers of food shipping their supplies to a Walmart. Usually, a lot of it's sugar added garbage. A lot of it's high fructose corn syrup infested stuff. Very little in terms of like a diverse selection of what would be a healthier diet, because it's only what sells for a popular American diet. That is a food desert, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's basically how I would define it too. Or sometimes people talk about it in terms of like just areas where maybe there isn't even that, and you don't have a vehicle or maybe good public transport, and so even just walking to somewhere and getting decent food is a bit of a struggle. So I know some people who are like, I just eat out all the time because I don't have the time, energy to figure out food, to make food and things like that, which is really bad. Like just really rough on your health. Absolutely. But yeah, that would absolutely, I think you probably defined that better than I would have. Trihex, thank you.
Well, that's because I used to live in one. That's why I was like, what does this word mean? Oh, this is where it's because I was in a small rural town, you know, where I grew up in Louisiana, and it's terrible. Yeah. All there was, you know, we had a Walmart and I don't even know. Like that was it.
Just the Walmart.
That was
The
it.
Walmart. And the Walmart depressing enough that it became the mall. Like people would go to the Walmart for social interaction, like you know, before smartphones, before social media, like early 2000s. Yeah, I'm just in Walmart, just seeing who's here. And that was it. That's hyper depressing, honestly, in hindsight.
I absolutely feel you. No, I actually, where I grew up, we had also a Kroger, but I remember everyone just thought the Kroger was too expensive. And I would run, like, I still will run into people. Like, if I make a Walmart run and I'm into my hometown and I show up there and it's like, there's one of my old high school friends stoned out of their mind in Walmart, like wandering. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, it's a little concerning, but that's what the entertainment is there, or the bar, right? So it's just like, it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of like, oh, that's rough, you know? So unfortunate. But yeah, what are your other?
Sorry, I cut you off though. What was your? Can you? I forgot what your question. I apologize.
Oh shoot.
Energy and time.
Energy and time. Yeah.
If that's an issue, yes or no?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that was the question.
Oh,
Yeah. Janami's on
it's
it.
definitely time. Definitely,
Definitely time.
Yeah, like time for everything. I don't have time to go get the stuff. I don't have time to make it. I don't have time to like for the possibility of being sick once the diet changes. I don't have like.
Oh my
it's
gosh,
like-
yeah.
So I just don't have like a lot of time. I feel like if I just had like several months of like a good clean open schedule with no school or like like a little bit like lay off
so
of work
you're
and
a
stuff like
full-time
that.
student?
Yeah, I'm a full-time student. I work 40 hours a week, and I somehow get home and try to stream and work out and figure out how to be a
Yeah,
diabetic. But so,
Judy.
and I'm trying to be a vegetarian. So this is.
Come on, wait. You work your full-time 12 credit hours, and you work 40 hours a week. When do you sleep?
Right now, but he's here
I am
instead.
asleep right now. I am like currently asleep.
When I was full-time, it was like the gap between 20 hours a week and 30 hours a week of a work schedule was like life and death for me. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I gotta.
And I'm like, and I'm like, I hate caffeine with a passion. So I just like go straight off of good raw energy and eat.
I feel that. I hate depending on it. I hate the idea that I need an external tool to feel like a human rather than being like I don't know, a coked out zombie essentially.
Same.
It's not the same.
But it's
I'm
definitely
gonna
time. I feel like I have the accessibility. Like there's a Trader Joe's less than a mile away. Like I feel like I can go get it whenever I want. It's just about time.
I'm over here drinking coffee as y'all are talking.
So look,
Well, I wouldn't consider coffee the coffee is natural, right?
Is it?
Yeah,
I guess so.
mean,
Yeah, coffee beans.
right?
Yeah.
Or it
I
can
guess
be
so.
it can be minimally synthetic. And in that regard, I wouldn't put coffee in category as like sugary beverage, caffeine loaded carry. Like
Mhm.
where I'm getting at here is like I've had some coworker associates who literally would just do like the rock star hustle and do like 2
Oh
to 3
my
a day,
Lord,
or the
yeah.
5-hour shots where they're just like I'm irresponsible with a bad schedule and bad eating and sleeping habits. I'm gonna get carried by an external tool to feel normal throughout the whole day. I'm just like, there's no way that's normal. This hack has a consequence at some point here, and you're gonna feel it eventually. Like
Mhm.
to me, it's a ticking time bomb of whenever that comes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. One of my high school best friends had. She would drink a ton of Monsters.
Oh
And-
Jesus.
Yeah, and she had to get off of it when she got pregnant because it was messing with her heart, like her heart rate. So that was a little scary. Be very
Ooh.
careful with how much you consume
Oh yeah.
energy drinks. Yeah.
Look how big the cans are, how much sugar is loaded in them, the amount of taurine and caffeine.
Yeah.
There's probably no long-term study, like in our lifetime, all this was introduced right now, and like think about it, 500 shot was the thing that like was debuted to the public consumption like what mid 2000s. There's no
Mm.
long-term study on that stuff right now. It's happening right now. The long-term studies are happening currently. So like
Oh, no.
you're a guinea pig.
That's
You're a guinea pig
grim.
for it. Why would you risk that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I hear you. Speaking of really foods that we should consume in extreme amounts, did you have something to say about Sour Patch Kids, Trihex?
So okay, you may think I'm here to attack on some kind of nutritional stuff. Actually, I'm here to attack you on your beautiful white teeth.
What are we even talking about? I don't know what that is.
Sour Patch Kids?
Let
Oh,
me-
you
here.
know Sour Patch Kids?
Oh.
I have a
I'm
bag.
sorry, I'm a pleb. I'm from Europe.
Here, let me help you.
Oh,
I can't wait
you,
for
you
the.
didn't make
I
them
can't
get
wait
up.
for your
You
take on,
didn't make them
here.
get up. That's a big bag.
That is a huge bag.
These are Sour Patch Kids, and they are incredible. They're
Don't
all
open
different
it.
kinds of flavors.
They are totally artificial.
I don't know
syrup,
them, but
sugar
they're like these
sweetened.
cute little kiddos that you eat. And since I'm vegan, I gotta make sure I stock up on scary things to eat since I'm not eating flesh, right? So I gotta eat children via Sour Patch Kids, and I can only get my animals through animal crackers. However, goldfish are gonna be vegan here soon, so I can also start eating fish again. I'm very excited. So that's what Sour Patch Kids are.
Eating babies.
Let's hear about them.
Well, it's just really bad for your teeth. Things like fruit gushers, fruit by the foot, Sour Patch Kids, any kind of like completely synthetic, artificial, syrup loaded nonsense that like you have to like chew when it sits in the crevices of your teeth for a long period of time. It's the absolute worst kind of thing to eat because it sits in your teeth and just eats away at the enamel and
Eat
everything
it.
in between. You
Sugar.
100% want to, not to mention the artificial dyes. I'm sure there's plenty of them in there. The yellow, the red, the blue. I forget the numbers behind them here, but all that stuff has like, I'm sure, I don't think there's any long-term study on like a lifetime consumption of how much of those dyes can affect your digestion or your teeth. But as someone who just recently got health insurance, as someone who couldn't afford to go to the dentist from until I was 27, and I hadn't been prior until before I was 18. So 18 to 27, no dentist visit at all because I couldn't afford it. Yeah, I severely. I'm doing better now, but I severely want to emphasize here that as a kid, I was the worst with like eating things like that and then just letting it rot in my mouth and then brush my teeth the next day. Like you just let it sit in there and accumulate plaque overnight, and it's really, really, really bad for your teeth.
I should stop keeping them by my bed.
They are just the worst kind of thing to
them
put
in
in
the
your mouth.
bathroom.
They just sit there and it typically will take your saliva, hours to get the excess of the smaller particles of it that remain out from your teeth. So pretty much I'm just telling you, if you're going to eat them, I would highly advise you an hour later, brush teeth and floss to get them all out. Because it's one of those like high maintenance, annoying things that you're like not gonna be good for you. But that's just if you you already know it's bad for you. But if it keeps you motivated to keep the vegan fight going on, hey, you do you. As long as you know the risks going into it and you have like proper dental hygiene maintained, then you're already ahead of the game. It's the ones that the ones that don't even floss that I have to like, I get try hard on them. Like, yo, you're not even flossing. Ooh, man, that is more important than brushing. Where do you think all the action happens? You're brushing here, but in reality, all the action's back here by the molars. That's where all the chewing goes down. That's where you need to like really get woke mode on the hygiene. So gotta floss.
I love that.
Yeah, me
Woke
too.
mode.
I'm here for it. No, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Trihex. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I know I've been a little worried about that because I do sometimes at night. I'm like, I just need something a little sweet, and then I'm like, do I really gotta brush my teeth? And I'm like, Eva, it's fucking Sour Patch Kids. The literal first ingredient is sugar, and it's gummy. But the flossing point is a really good one. Thank you. I do. I'm grateful they're vegan, but also, why did I get the biggest bag? Why would I do that?
Yeah, that requires some gig of self-control. If you had gotten like pre-packaged individual bags, might be a little bit easier to deal with. But whenever it's like, unlimited resource right in front of you, when do you stop?
Yeah, that's my problem.
You count the pieces? Do you just go until you feel overwhelmingly guilty? Like, what's the system here? Like, how do you
finish
regulate
the bag?
Or it works the exact opposite. It is that big, all right? It's so huge. There's so much stuff inside. You just can't eat it all at once, right? So you just eat it away, and eat it away. It takes an eternity. And at one point, you just look at that bag, and it's grossing you out so much that when the decision comes up, am I eating this or will I not? You're not eating it. But then in the grocery store, like, I'm not buying. I still have some at home. But at home, you'd be like, I'm not eating. This is gross.
You're just like fighting with yourself.
I wish that was working for me. Janami, come be my coach. That's
Sits
not
by
what's
your bed.
happening.
Now, just to make you feel better about it here, I have my own guilty pleasures too here. I am a sucker for cookies.
Yeah.
And so when I go to Costco, which by the way, earlier you said the Impossible Burger. I used the wrong terminology actually. I didn't get the Impossible Whopper at Burger King. I actually got the Beyond Burger, which is like in the frozen food aisle at Costco. They carry it now. You can they're plant-based burger patties that come in packs of 8 and they're frozen. So I got that, and I've been cooking those and trying those out, and those are really good. I haven't had the Impossible Whopper particularly here.
It. Okay, have any of you had?
If you want to see what I'm talking about here's a link in your chat. I don't know if I can't post it. I don't know, but all right. Well, here I'll put the link in the Discord.
Oh, you got purged.
That's okay. No, it's okay. I'm sure that Patch got you, or Patch can repost or whatever. Someone just gift Trihex 200 genders for the love of goodness, please. Yes, the Beyond Burger. I like how
that's what I exactly got. And I will test here, they are really, really good.
Good.
Before, during, and aftertaste are all A1. I was thoroughly impressed.
I might have to try.
But back to what I was saying here though, in Costco, yeah, you can get like it's absurd. You can get like 15 fresh baked cookies for like less than $6. It's like comically cheap, and you get an abundant amount of them. They're all delicious. I'm just like, 15 cookies. That's 3 rows of 5, right? You're just like, oh my God, what do I regulate here? And for me, it's like I can do like one cookie. First off, whenever I get them, it's like I'm getting them because it's like, I don't know, I'm having like a cheat marathon, right? I'm gonna like slam like half of them in that one day and then throw the rest away or whatever, which is, I know, terrible, but like I gotta get rid of it somehow, or so I'm gonna eat them all week long. But whenever I have leftovers though, I will do one cookie per night. That's all I can do. That's the way I regulate it right there. But like I struggle though. Cookies are my absolute weakness. They are a sin.
So here's how you fix this. You go vegan, and then instead of getting the cookies, you cry because all the cookies are non-vegan. That's how I manage.
Yes.
That's how my diet has gotten healthier. Well, not really. But that's
how do I fix this problem? Cry.
I mean, isn't that?
Yeah, that's a hard one because like, you know, typically when dieting, you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to, you know, I'll commit, and then I have a cheat day to like unleash my frustration and my desires. But with veganism, it's like, sorry, I'm still sick. Right, I got a weird malfunction going on. Yeah, with veganism, it's just like the off day is still a work day, right? So it's like, whew, no eggs, whew, no meat, whew, no, you know, it goes on and on, right? So
yeah. The Oreos, I saw it pop up in chat. I was going to mention this when I came back, but I also have Oreo Thins over there. In my defense, I had my brother over and we were having like a night together where we were just playing games and eating fun things. So probably not the best thing to do, but I did it and it was yummy. So, but yeah, absolutely. Oreos work out. And then I have some good cookie recipes that are vegan, but absolutely, if any of you decide, well, it seems like some of you are deciding to go vegan, please, all I can say is transition slowly, and slowly, like what I always recommend is just slowly take like a thing out of your diet and build in, I'm going to make this vegan recipe, and then I'm going to make this vegan, and just try slowly building in vegan recipes into your meals as you like remove maybe a type of cheese, a type of meat. Like that's my biggest recommendation to anyone going vegan. Personally.
Ooh, okay.
So,
also, if I can add in here actually, and as you are adding more and more vegan meals into the mix, evaluate if you feel better. Because if you can find other reasons to reinforce motivation for
Oh
going
yeah.
vegan, like, oh, not only is it like ethically responsible, but also I literally feel better. I'm literally more energetic. I'm literally a better person. And it's easier to get out of bed and be productive every single day. If you have that also going for you, then you'll actually be more motivated to keep going.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And that ties right back into what Janami was saying regarding food and mental health, for sure. Unfortunately, when I went vegan, I ended up eating a lot of really unhealthy things. I was really bad, and yet my health still improved because somehow it was still slightly healthier than what I was eating.
Oof.
Yeah, I am doing better, I think, now.
well,
I don't know. I don't
ooh,
think I've illustrated
this is
that.
a good one. If
Mhm.
I can hear too, actually. So whenever you're eating, if we're all having like these cheap meals, like I don't know, hamburgers, whatever, like I don't know, chicken nuggets from wherever, right? Like these like convenient, easy access, um, carnivore-esque meals. What are they eating? What are they fed? Sometimes you're getting chicken that's just fed like corn filler. Sometimes
Mhm.
you're getting like, non-grass fed hamburgers. And ultimately you're just it's like, yeah, well, you're just eating you wouldn't eat this much corn filler. You wouldn't eat corn filler at all, honestly. You wouldn't be eating like whatever slop they're giving these like cows or whatever, just like get them to, get big enough to be, slaughtered and extracted for all they can be uh
Mhm.
taken for. So yeah, you're just gonna it's not I don't think it's really hard to be healthier in that regard whenever you're
Mhm.
removing the meat because not all meat is the same. Especially if you're
Mhm.
talking about
Yeah.
like the cheap consumer in all of the whole thing here. Because they're being fed as cheaply as possible, slaughtered as quickly as possible to be mass produced, to be consumed as often as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna be very clean in the first place here.
That's a very good point. Absolutely. And I know I was eating at the time, just because of my circumstances, I was eating a heck ton of fast food, that's just terrible. Like, it's just horrible. So, yeah. Did anyone have anything additional on the vegan topic? Because I actually wanted to scooch over to some more, I guess,
Spicy.
a
Well,
little
I had two
spicy.
small things. If you wanted, I mean, this is like completely optional though here.
Mm-hmm.
Uni, I never got to hear your diabetes type 1.
Mhm.
Forgive my ignorance here. I actually wanted to ask you the difference. I recall that there's like you have to monitor your blood sugar levels, right? Or
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
can't make your own insulin. Is that correct? Naturally from your body.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it the
So
same thing? I know type 1 is like genetic in some fashion,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's hereditary. So it's like if your grandpa had it, you might most likely will have it. Most likely type 1 skips over a generation, so it skipped my father. Lucky bastard. And then and then it went over to me. Type 2 is more of like your pancreas works a little bit, but not really, so you have to still monitor it. It's easy to monitor type 2 with food. It's easy just to go on a diet and then you can still be like, okay, I'm like in a safe space. I won't go hypo. I won't go hyper. I might go hyper sometimes. I like, and I'm talking about hypoglycemia and like hyperglycemia, like but like with type 1, your pancreas is like, nope. We're not here anymore. We're just an organ that sits here. We love it here. We're not doing anything. Um, um, so I have to use injectables. I have to still watch what I eat more severely than really type 2s really. And I go to the doctor way more often to get my blood checked. I'm the one easier to lose limbs and organs and fingers and all that good stuff. So that's why I was like, on the topic of veganism, it's just like, do I want to risk going too low where I can go into a coma because I'm switching a diet up?
Mm-hmm.
And if I do get sick from the change of diet, what does that mean for me being a diabetic? Because then they have to treat me a whole different way. Where
Yeah.
if they would treat somebody else who got like, I don't know, severely sick from like switching up, like, like, and I already am low, super low in iron, naturally.
Mm.
So an easy way to get that is just pound yourself with some like
Just a
red meat.
crazy SJ
uh,
Dub
so
monster that
yeah, that's
wants
really
to
the
indoctrinate your
difference. It
children.
is like a
If all
difference
the
of what you
bounties are
take
green lemons,
medicine
slime is evil.
wise, and like usually you get type 2 diabetes from eating bad, but whether type 1 is like you were either eating bad and your antibodies couldn't keep up, or your grandpa, your mom, somebody had it.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that's really the big difference.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
It's definitely like one of the burdens, but you know, I can't really complain because I know a ton of type 1 diabetics who are vegan. So I just like, and like I can always just go to them and be like, how? But they've been like, and they were just telling me what everybody here is telling me. They're like, the transition sucks. And it's and it everybody tells you that it can go either way. There's no like, oh, you can just easily transition to this path. Or like, no, some gotten horribly sick. Some have not gotten horribly sick. And so it's the path of like, do I have the time to
Yeah.
judge that and see if everybody's different or not. So but it's getting easier every day. I'm still young. It's a bit worse if I was older.
Well, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
The cry
And
emotes.
I will say that type 2 hit all 4 of my grandparents. So I'm just like, okay, well, I know what to stay woke for and to dodge. And then all of them they're also stubborn. They still eat Cheetos and
Oh
soda
god.
and all this easy to quit stuff. I'm just like, all right, well, we're gonna do that rodeo. I mean, do I be the nagging stepmother and hey, you know better, mama, papa, y'all shouldn't be, or do I just let them like live their life and
Mhm.
I don't know. It's complicated and it's like stuff I don't even like really consider serious if I'm gonna like drill them further on it. But I know they're cheating all the time. I'm just like, oh, y'all country folks are so stubborn, dude. Oh my god. The doctor gave
Yeah.
you literally the foolproof sheet on how to like get out of it. Literally get out of it. But you just like, nah, I don't really care. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it.
It's just really because type 2, once they tell you type 2, and most people are type 2 because type 2 comes from bad eating and your
Correct.
pancreas couldn't keep up with how much sugar you were intaking on a daily basis. And so it's like it gave out a little bit. Still works. So they can have more cheat days than I can because their pancreas still works a little bit. It's all about just, oh, I'm just gonna pop this pill, Sonny, and I'm fine after like 2 days, So, but like, so I would worry, but I would like keep a close eye if they're going back into old habits and not eating healthy and stuff. Like, yeah, I'll definitely be concerned. Cheat days for type 2s happen a lot. My grandpa has them all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had my last topic. If you want to, it's obviously
Hit
we
me
can
with
take it
it,
at your.
Trihex. Yeah.
All right. So the thing I wanted to ask everyone here was like everyone has their first story of unethical meat consumption or production because everyone here sounds woke on like obviously eating meat is questionable at minimum here. Does anyone here want to share that moment where you're like, oh, wait, chicken nuggets are made by what? They're caged in cages how big? They do what to the cows? They beat them and literally punch them until they just what? What do they do? Like have anyone here ever heard these stories or seen the footage or watched documentary or read into it and seen all this stuff?
Yeah. I like in high school. Like I came from like a high school where like they really kind of showed everything. They tried to like include everything, and they did show us like how like the beef production was. When we were all kids. We were like, whatever, this happens. This doesn't happen to every animal, right? And stuff like that. So like it was more of like a touch on subject, but they didn't really touch on it. They just showed you the videos, and then everybody, we were kids. Everybody was like, look at this video of what they do to cows and now they do the pigs and stuff. Is so horrible. And we would just look at it and then we like, okay, cool. So you want to go to Burger King, right? So what really hit me was like one of my friends who's vegan, like sincerely, like not one of the vegans that are like, trying to like shove it down your throat per se or anything. But I asked them, what made them go vegan, and they were telling me their story, and they got really super sincerely emotional behind the ethics of everything, and then how like they care so much about the world and animals and people's bodies, and they just want everybody to be like healthy and okay and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, we suck. We suck really bad. As humans, as like being on this planet, how we treat the earth. I was just like, wow, we suck. So that stuck with me, and every time I like decide like I'm gonna have a vegan meal, I just think of that conversation me and my friend had, and me and Eva had this conversation where it's like it's kind of the pushy vegans that make you go vegan. But it's also the really sincere, kind ones that kind of like, will push you a little bit, but not too hard to where, you have bad malice against everyone.
Mhm.
So that's what really is keeping my mind on, yeah, I definitely gotta change a dietary something soon, sooner than later, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know. Yeah, I talk my going vegan for me was a pushy vegan. However, my experiences were a lot earlier. So probably the first, this isn't me actually. My dad one time when I was quite young asked me if for one of my dolls I wanted some type of fur for that doll because he was going to be hunting or killing some of these animals, right? And I was very like, I loved animals as a kid, and I had a very big dilemma about this personally. And I was quite young, so I was like, well, the animal is dead though, right? So like, should use the fur, but also that's I don't know how I feel about that. It'd be a nice thing for my doll, but also what the heck, so I didn't know how I felt. And then I also like I remember my dad had me try something that he said was fish, and it was turtle, and I was horrified because I would catch turtles from our pond and have the babies as pets, and then I was like, he told me it was turtle because I was like, this is really good, and then he ended up telling me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that could be like my baby pet's parent. What the heck? Why would you feed me that? And so I had like this understanding, this kind of creeping in, and then I hit college, and some pushy vegan who ended up becoming a very close friend of mine was like, you're a feminist? Why aren't you vegan? And I was like, what the F? Tell me about it. So he started talking to me and I went vegetarian, and then I got excited and I told him, and I was actually very embarrassed because he was like, you're still killing tons of animals by not being vegan. And I was like, what do you mean? And also, why would you say that in front of my coworkers? Like, yeah, I was very embarrassed because I was excited, I was like, I went vegetarian, I'm doing so much better. Like, we had one or two conversations before then, right? And then I looked into the issues around dairy and recognizing like how even milk, like this is the weirdest thing. And I don't know, I'm curious to hear if either any of you have this understanding or had this understanding. I just thought milk cows produced milk all the time. They just did, right? No, you gotta get them pregnant. Like, that's not how bodies work, Eva, little Eva. Like, so I just had this idea that that's how milk happened. And then all of a sudden I'm finding out, like, no, you actually have to impregnate the cow. This isn't typical. Like, you repetitively impregnate them. Once they're not creating enough milk anymore, you kill them, you kill their babies, like, you take their babies away. And all of this was like horrifying to me. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go vegan then. Like,
There's so much more than that. Oh my god. They're controlled through fear. It's not like they're like trained to obey the farmers. They use a lot of instruments that are, operated or, I don't know, like reinforced by pain, and the cows run in fear to the target pin they want them to go in to do more stuff. The milking and all that, sometimes they're not cooperative, and you got to use, again, pain to make them fear. That way the milking, the forced milking, is better option than getting beat the crap out of, literally, by some of these farmers. There's a lot to go into there. But before I go into, I guess, my woke moment here, do you have anything? Anybody else?
Janami?
So I feel like
If you do, if you don't worry about it. You don't have to have.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me it was a process, definitely. I feel like, I hate to say that, but I was very ignorant for a long time. My sister, who's younger than me, like, as I said, I like the age of 12 or so must have been. that she became vegetarian. Like she really urged my mother to also always offer a vegetarian meal. My mother did that eventually. I have like biggest respect. Like she always cooked basically 2 meals. And I remember having many discussions. My sister was really pushy, and whenever there was meat on the table, she would call it flesh, or just dead body parts in front of everyone.
My mom hates me for this, by the way.
And I hated my sister for doing that so much. Although I understand why, and she was just very compassionate at the time, and now I see this and now I admire this. But back at the time, I was pissed. But okay, I was an angsty, ignorant teenager. Well, what should I have done? Probably inform myself better. And it was not until I started studying actually that I really started getting more information and more insight and understanding what is really happening here. I think we already had a couple of like things thrown in here. I don't want to make it too uncozy. I think we're all aware. But I also had someone who was like a very pushy vegan. And
all this keeps coming back over and over again. There's like everyone
right?
has like, the X factor is the pushy vegan at some point.
Yeah, but I liked them. I really liked them. They were a singer, and we did a lot of music together. And so in between, like they started talking about it and also trying to convince me and show me these gross videos and pictures and informations and such. And yeah, it was very, very uncomfortable at the time, but it needed to be in order for something to change. And it's been a process. It's been, I have to admit, a very slow process, but there has been also other things just took priority. But it is a process, and definitely something that I'm very glad, I am very happy, I'm very grateful that I was so uncomfortable back then.
Awesome. Oh, well, not awesome, but you know.
Awesome, definitely.
Cool.
Well, no, yeah.
I always use cool. Cool.
Oh, you like the default one? That's crazy. When
Yeah, C-double-O. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like a pigeon, you know? Cool.
Well,
Oh my
thank you for
god.
sharing that. My moment comes. There's a lot going on here. I got into the general advocating for wanting to get into dieting and losing weight and being healthy in 2009 after going through some traumatic episode of food poisoning, having some questionable Quiznos from the Quiznos sub shop. Had some rosemary beef sub that did not sit very well, was kind of sour, and I ended up vomiting all night. Felt like total garbage. From there, I started actually looking into what's healthy and what's not. Didn't know what a calorie was. Didn't know how bad sugar was or how abundant sugar was. You know, I was under the literally the weaponized ignorance of the old school food pyramid, where like, you know, some sugar's okay. You need some sugar in your diet. You know, you need dairy. Dairy is an essential part of the food pyramid. You know, just all that's obviously wrong. You don't need dairy at all, etc. Right? You don't need cheese. You don't need milk. You don't need cow's milk. It's not even really natural to consume cow's milk, etc. And so I was getting relatively into all of that, but it was particularly, if I recall here, it's a 2014 documentary called Fed Up that exposes, one of many, by the way, that exposes the sugar industry for being a predatory, toxic, and behaving in very similar to the tobacco industry before it got, you know, regulated to hell and back. You know, by weaponizing sugar and trying to, you know, get, you know, honestly, like cigarettes were back in the gap, or tobacco back in the gap, trying to get kids addicted, make them lifelong prisoners. I mean customers. And so yeah, when I saw all that, and I saw like particularly it was the treatment, just one facility owned by operated through Tyson Meats, you know, Tyson brand chicken you can find at your any given Walmart, how they would treat all the animals. In particular here for a very long time. Here's a sticking point. When I saw that it was cheaper for them to pluck the feathers of chickens or skin them alive rather than kill them and then do it. It was cheaper to do it alive, hung upside down on a conveyor belt, and just like throw them through the oven and let the feathers come off. It was cheaper to do it while alive and then kill them after. It's completely unethical, inhumane, sadistic, honestly. And I saw there's a lot of things like that. You know, again, punching cows, punching calves, using instruments. You know, because when the instruments didn't work, they would just get frustrated. Like, I gotta meet the quota. I gotta get this amount of meat done today, and they start just punching them. It's like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing right now? This is pathetic. The regulations for what's considered a free range chicken is comical. It's baffling. It goes from them being in a cage to just them being in like a 3 by 4 foot perimeter where they still can't move. The steroid injections to the chickens, they grow to how big they would be in 6 months naturally in under 3, meaning that they are so top heavy, the chickens, they can't even walk. Their legs can't support their weight. So they are essentially involuntarily paralyzed from mobility, sad, depressed, and eating non-nutritional corn filler, again, to be as fat as possible, as quickly as possible, then be killed. Again, in the worst way possible as well.
Yeah.
So you hear about all this stuff, and you're just like, damn, okay, there's a lot to unpack here. And it's all obviously kept under wraps. It's a very disclosed location where they do all these kind of things at. And as it gets more and more exposure over the last decade, it's gotten better on being called out. Thankfully, they no longer do the chicken killing or the chicken skinning while alive, but we still have a long, long way to go. So that is where I got woke. But then whenever I was like, okay, I need to do better than this, actually, was when I looked further into it, and the fact that our current system right now is literally not sustainable. The richest 1/3 of the world consumes two-thirds of the world's food supply. If this continues on for another century, given our current human population increase as it continues to go, something's going to give here. The methane exhaust from the animals and cattle being killed, the consumption of the meat and all that, it's literally not sustainable. It is irresponsible, and something has to change. The good news is something can change, but it requires a systematic, complete overhaul of what we have going on right now here. And the acknowledgement to educate everyone on like how bad really is right now has to happen. So all of that unloaded on me when I was 2014, or well, when
You're 2014.
When
Wow,
I was
you look
2014.
young.
yeah. So that's so yeah, I've been meaning to get around to it. I'm glad I'm coming back now and trying out plant burgers and really gonna push for it, because now I'm seeing like a lot more evidence. Like, yeah, not only is it like ethical, it's debatably superior. Because again, why let the meat quality be X by how it's fed when you can just eat what they're eating instead and skip the middleman entirely? I'm just like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I have no excuse now. If I truly believe that food is fuel and I want to, get more fit and have a more optimal workout, yeah, I should be. Why not do that instead? So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it further and further from here on out.
I'm excited.
But that was my woke moment, though. Yeah. So
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, one of the arguments I hear against this a lot is people saying, well, we can treat the animals better. We'll just treat the animals better. And I'm like, you don't understand that doesn't work. We have to make this profitable. And then additionally, if we did give these animals, the mass amount of animals that we are currently slaughtering, enough space, we don't have room. Like, we just don't have room for that. And the impacts of giving all of those animals all that space we need to give them would just be absurd. So, but yeah, I didn't know Trihex could go on a vegan rampage today. That was impressive. Holy doggies.
I'm sorry. I never had an outlet to talk about it yet, so I was kind of excited.
Surfs asks a really good question. Lance from the Surfs. I don't know if you all know him. Could we get a shout out for the Surfs, by the way? I would really appreciate that. But asked about, and this is probably one of the most asked questions I get as a vegan. What are your thoughts on lab grown meat?
It excites me more than anything else. Just because, like, again, ethically, it's like, if we can do cloned meat, that would definitely solve a lot of problems. That would solve more problems than it would hurt. But ultimately, I really want to see, and this is kind of the radical part here. You kind of want to see, is that really? It's more like a band-aid than actually fixing the problem. Because fixing the problem must be normalizing other alternative protein sources, again, like plants. And here comes the big bomb, like insects. Not gonna lie to you there are
Yum.
crickets. I don't know. This is I know it's a lot to take in right here, but that is where it comes down to ultimately. If we are out of animals to eat, that is where you would go to next, honestly.
Mm.
Or if the scarcity of animals becomes to a breaking point, you will see like $20 hamburgers and $100 steaks be the norm because they're so
Mm.
scarce with supply and demand issues. And then you're going to all you can afford will be insect burgers
Mm.
and cricket chips.
I do have a
So
question about that. I don't know if you know anything on it. Bela is someone that's kind of popping up a little. She's an environmentalist and studying environmental science, I think. But she said that we're actually having a mass extinction of bugs as well. So I wonder
that is
if
true.
that would be a problem. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, and personally, I'm too much like, ew, just give me my plant protein, okay? But
Okay.
I think that would
I'm
be
sorry.
something to look into. Not familiar?
No, I can yeah, I can rant on this one too. Actually,
Okay.
yeah, bees are being attacked in a lot of ways here due to climate change and other factors as well. Their pollination routes, they're getting confused and they go to the wrong area, and and again environment the deforestation is leading to them just like not having sometimes nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Bees are really important because they affect a crap ton of foods, including like over 50 very common foods. I don't have the list in front of me right now, so I apologize here. But a
No
lot of your
worries.
favorite foods, way more than just honey, which by the way, even honey, by the way, is another one's kind of like unethical because like the honey,
Mhm.
a whole lot of bees die for honey, by the way.
Honey.
It's not
You know
yeah.
about the honey.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you want even if you're like if you enjoy fruit, if you enjoy almonds, if you enjoy a lot of things, I think even some meats in some cases here, you want bees to survive here. When bees go away or get heavily reduced or face extinction, you will see a lot of foods go scarce and it's going to
Mhm.
be not fun. And the
Yeah.
problem is it'll be too late by the time it gets to any kind of national systematic provoking coverage for things to actually change. So
Yeah.
yeah, you wanna save the bees. I've been waiting to do a charity stream and be like and use my platform to be like, yo, save the bees. Let's talk about some tangible change because I love food and therefore you love bees. So
I like this message. I like food. I like bees. I'm there for
Yes.
that. I'm there for that. Yeah, I've been meaning to look more into the arguments around bees because another common question I get is like, do you eat honey? And I say, oh, it's so complex because a lot of people say, well, you need to eat honey to support bee farmers who are keeping bees like afloat right now. And I'm like, another area I have to look into and I need to research because I'm not sure the validity of that statement. So I have to look into it. But of course, we want to support the bees in the ways we can. Do you have ideas around that, or are you just hoping to get in with an organization working for the bees? Or
yeah, it's a tough one because right now there's no moderator demanding ethical treatment of bees right now. So like a lot of bees die and have a lot of their habitats invaded for better or for worse for the production of honey. But there are like for example here, right? There are ethically is the word I'm looking for? Ethically responsibly produced honey that you can buy, but it's like legit like $30 a jar rather than be the dirt cheap amount that you probably would pay for honey comparatively. It kind of gives you a scale here where it's like, yeah, we can make honey responsibly. It costs this much here, but we can make it way cheaper as demanded by capitalism or whatever market you want to dictate here. By just like, undermining the consideration of bee habitats because they were abundant, whatever, 100, 200 years ago. And now it's like really getting to a point where, all these extraneous factors are coming in here and they're affecting bees. So that's the whole thing right there. But as far as like, yeah, it would probably be for an organization. I got to do the homework on it here and figure out like how I would attack it. But it's like half doing stuff, but the other half's also like leaving a lasting impression on my audience that like, you know, this will affect more. It's not just like, you care about bees because they're cool. It's like it affects a lot of the food you eat as well. A lot. I think I should probably get a list here that way I can make it like really stick to everyone involved. Um, I'm sorry, you can keep going while I'm looking at this real quick.
no, you're good. I was just catching up with chat a little bit as well, but I need to dive, I think, pretty deeply into that conversation, because I know from a vegan argument, honey absolutely isn't ethical. And so I get into this weird area. I've had this with hunting as well. People would say, well, isn't hunting fine? Is it fine to eat hunted food that like people themselves have hunted? And I've especially like regarding overpopulated deer, that's one I hear commonly in my area, and that's something that I struggled with a little bit until I got into more arguments around it and dove into it. Can we
I have
get
the
a
link ready.
permit for Trihex? I'd appreciate that. Fundraiser. Oh, wait. That should be right, Woke Scold, by the way.
How do I? I'm sorry. How do I? Oh, so
check your genders, exclamation point genders,
Okay.
and see how many genders you have. How many genders does Trihex? You have the genders now, Trihex. Someone did gift you the genders, so you can go ahead and just post a link and you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, okay, it's smart. Okay, it's cool. It's cool. So here's a quick little chart here. Bees affect the following, and probably more honestly: almonds, apples, asparagus, avocados, beans, blueberries, broccoli, carrots, cherries, citrus including lemons, coffee beans, eggplants, grapes, kiwis, olives, onions, parsley, peaches, pears, pumpkins, strawberries, tomatoes, vanilla bean, watermelon, zucchini.
Halloween will die without bees.
Yes.
That is a whole lot of food right there that gets affected. Also, by the way, vanilla beans also getting really bad too. There's a climate change reason why where the primary source of vanilla bean is under shocker climate change problems as well here. So you will see in our lifetime vanilla bean become a luxury sooner rather than later, unless something dramatic changes here soon. Which again, I don't know. That's the bad part. I don't really know.
Let's see.
So enjoy vanilla while you can, because see all things vanilla become unfortunately a rarity.
Also vanilla sex, sorry.
Oh my gosh, Janami, vanilla beans and vanilla sex are they're gonna be luxuries here soon.
Ah, gosh,
yeah, welcome to, I mean, when you talk to your, I don't know, climate change denying relative, just, I don't know.
It's like, now you gotta buy some handcuffs, Grandma. Dude, we fucking run out of vanilla.
Sorry, I didn't want to.
No, I've got you, Janami. You're good. You're good.
It's only for the rich.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, serious. I hear you, Trihex. The problem is we've got moving to do, and I get a little overwhelmed sometimes because we have these very big, impactful issues hitting us, from climate change to, what happened with Iran, which we're not going to get into. But just all of these things can sometimes feel overwhelming. But I do think for me, while a lot of people will say like individual change doesn't help, I'm saying, well, we're not seeing the systemic change we want to see, right? But we're seeing these products become more available, at least with people making large environmental change, and with this spread of awareness. I almost want to say this individual change, well, a lot of people want to downplay it and attack it and say, oh, you're putting it all on the individuals to do this. I say, no, we're spreading awareness and we're trying to do the little bit we can do. And while I don't think that impacts companies as much as we need it, at least if nothing else, we're getting awareness out there, right? So yeah. Hopefully we are.
That is very true. A long way to go, especially when, oh God, I don't even want to. I know we don't want to get into climate change here, but just
no, we're not hitting
70%.
No God,
no.
I can talk about that all day.
I'm sorry. All right.
Trihex is my resident doomer now.
So I'm sure Uni can probably finish it for me. You know where I was going with that one. Yeah, 70%.
No.
Wait, what are we talking about? Oh,
hit us with it.
I'm lost.
What is it?
Oh, okay. 70% of emissions are done by 100 companies alone. Of the greenhouse gas causing emissions.
Oh yeah, greenhouse gas. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so honestly, systematic change and regulations and forcing those companies to actually care is definitely something that would influence a lot here. Whether now, of course, the debate becomes how effective is a carbon tax on that. That way there's like a penalty for just being a polluting pile of shit. But there's a debate. There's debates about that obviously here, and that's where it gets a little bit complicated and nuanced. You might need some economists in here to talk about it further. But the facts are 70%, 100 companies. That's where a lot of it will go into play. So yeah, we will see. We will see. So
Yeah.
let that weaponized knowledge get in there for you, and yeah, individual action will definitely is always a feel good individual thing, but like man, that it doesn't get very far as like compared to like getting these companies to be held accountable for what they are doing, which is literally killing the planet.
Yeah. And so that we need to be pairing that message with everything else we're doing. Something I get frustrated with is I'm like, don't attack people who are doing individual action. Take that passion they have and help them improve their message and help them use that in a better way. That's so important, because it gets very exhausting when someone's trying, like they're changing their whole lifestyle, trying to do better, and you're just like, well, you're not doing anything. And it's so disappointing. It's no, give them a hand. They obviously have a lot of passion. Let's bring them up and see what we can do to spread awareness and push their message forward and push that passion forward. And that's kind of where I end up on it.
I think it's a good outlook. It's a healthy. I mean, I think that's a way positive outlet, healthier one than the existential dread that at first I was like, the negative way. I was overwhelmed. I was like, what do I need to unplug. I don't know what to do right now. I'm killing myself with stress right here. So I think that your outlook is great. It's fantastic. It's how you stay motivated and uplifted to fight the fight.
I'm trying to be the bloomer to our doomers, so we can do stuff. We've got to do stuff. Come on, doomers, let's go.
Yeah, without hope, you might as well just order your coffin now and just like max out a student loan, order a coffin, and just have it in your front yard until it's time.
Oh, my coffin's like back there. Like no, my student loan coffin.
Oh no! Oh no! Yeah. So thank you. That was so much really good information. I think something I want to switch over to, Trihex just blew all our minds. But something I wanted to move over into a little bit is this concept of getting canceled. I had a little bit of a conversation before we got into the stream. We know Contra has thrown out a very long video, in my opinion, an hour and 40 minutes. Is it? Yeah. Hour and 40 minutes.
That's very long.
Yeah, that's correct.
So Trihex, I know Janami, you said who watched how much out of curiosity?
Half.
I have weird feelings with Contra currently, so like I'm having struggles to click the button right now, but I do plan on watching it when I have some free time.
Yeah, I haven't caught. I feel like I have to watch the whole thing, or else I'm gonna be like,
yeah, I can't. I have to watch.
So I have to make sure I've put time aside, because it's no small ask here to watch the whole thing.
Oh no, it's not.
Yeah, so I gotta do that. I also feel like I also need to like, am I informed enough? Because there's a whole lot of gap as well between like last video and the newest video from Contra. So it's like, I know the whole like her Twitter fiasco and having a surrogate agent manage it, and then not again, and then having one again. I'm just like, okay, so am I informed enough to go in? I don't know, so we'll see. But yeah, I haven't done it yet though, because I wasn't prepared yet for it.
Okay. I think it would be a good like not maybe focus on the individual behind Contra. Natalie, is that her name?
Natalie Wynn.
Natalie.
Yeah. But like cancel culture in general, and I think which is very valuable, because that video represented very well what cancel culture, what that is about.
Yeah, so something, it was very interesting timing for me, because I had some pretty strong, strong criticism from some smaller creators that I took pretty harshly, and I wanted to lash out like Natalie or Contra goes into in her video, like that need to respond quickly, and that inability to calm down, and how quickly things happen on the internet. And so I actually invited the people who were critiquing me to come on and talk about it Friday, and we talked a little bit about the other side. So I think something is interesting in here is we have the content creators who are, I would say there's a bit of a hierarchy there, and Contra actually goes into it. But something I realized when I was out with my friends is if I am talking to my friends and one of my friends does something like, Janami, can I pick on you in a moment we had on my stream? Do you mind?
I think I know which one you're referring to.
If you're not comfortable, please tell me.
Go ahead. It's
Okay.
a great it's a great example.
Okay, so Janami is one of, like, I consider Janami a friend, right? And if Janami and I were out there hanging out and he happened to say a slur, I would just take him aside later and say, hey, let's have a little chat about this word. I don't know if you're familiar with all of the issues, right? And it wouldn't be so much of a big deal. But it happened in the middle. Janami said a pretty upsetting slur towards the trans community on my trans panel for my fundraiser, right? And I could tell our chat was very angry, understandably. And the thing is, I need to preface this with, this was a 101 kind of talk to allies about trans issues. And so we expected there would be mistakes. I was not prepared for that. And those mistakes need to be able to happen, but it's a lot different between like Janami doing that here and him doing that when we're just hanging out, because the power differential, suddenly everyone else in chat is hearing this. I'm not responding. It puts me in a place where I need to respond there and immediately, rather than how I would pull him aside later, because it's out in the open. And a lot of people are witnessing that. And there's an aspect of normalization, right? So there's this aspect where like, I feel bad and people are probably going to be like, Eva, what the heck? But I felt very responsible for that moment. And I felt like I didn't feel like Janami understood the impact that was going to have. Janami is not trying to hurt people. I think we both understood, like, it happened, right? And I hurt people. Like, we all have these moments where we will end up hurting our communities, right? And then there's the community who snaps and is very loud sometimes. And I noticed when I got to talk to those people on Friday, and I'm very grateful that they could come on, but I noticed that one of the concerns was they didn't think they would get heard. And I heard them very loudly, but I understand sometimes content creators might not. There's a hierarchy there in a sense, but with these people who are viewers thinking I don't have any power, when in reality, you can have a lot of power, especially when it's many, right? That's something that I got out of Contra's video. But it becomes very interesting when we think of how do we have this discussion in a way where we can help creators learn without absolutely demolishing them, right? And I think I feel so weird saying like there are areas we can improve on both sides. I sound so centrist right now. But I do think that this relationship is a responsibility of all of us involved. And I wanted to dive into this concept a little bit. I gave you a lot of background on my thoughts on it, but like, have you experienced criticism from your community, and how have you responded to that? And what is your experience around that?
I mean, I would like to chime in immediately to that situation, because I feel like that would be the best example for me. From my community per se, there was not so much. But that was a very, very, I'll say, important moment. Of course, I never intended to hurt anyone. I used a word that I was not aware is a slur at all. Like I said that, and I meant the whole sentence. It was supposed to be jokey, funny, uplifting kind of thing, and ended up being the exact opposite. And there's one thing that that's important is that I was able to learn from there because we had the people that were willing to teach, that were willing to educate, and I think that is incredibly important. There's of course always more than one side in communication, right? Communication is not a thing that goes, it's like one-way street, right? Otherwise, misunderstandings would never happen. It's always something that is also happening in context. That's why humor works in certain situations, and in certain situations it doesn't. And I was very, very happy that we had people from the community that were there to really, really explain and tell what that word is, because I would have probably never ever learned otherwise. And so that was a mistake. And unfortunately, it hurt people. That is very, very unfortunate. But it also led to a situation. And big thank you to Eva, to you, that you created that space. But it led to a situation where a lot of people, I think, were able to learn something, to grow. And that is a lot of people who won't ever do that mistake ever again. A lot of people that won't use that word anymore because they understand the background, they understand the slur. And that is something great. They come out of a situation where I just felt, oh my gosh, I'm just going to puke because I feel so bad about what I just said. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, it was a good thing that it, what happened afterwards. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. And thank you for listening to everyone. I know some of us, Janami might have responded pretty well, but I, even though, you obviously felt very poorly, I know some people, and I will say a lot of people, it's almost human nature to want to defend yourself immediately. And I think that's a bit of a problem we have, especially as Contra points out, that intensity of having to respond quickly, feeling the need to respond quickly, because suddenly everyone is on you very quickly and everyone can respond very, very fast. That can be pretty unfortunate. But what about all of you? Have you, I don't want, Trihex, I'm so scared that you'll have to go into the same conversation you have so many times. Do you have any other moments you would point to, or no, not so much?
As far as like being canceled or being in like in being the perceived wrong by a mass of an audience. Is that the kind of thing there?
Yeah, so it could be cancel, it could be criticism. We have a few terms floating out there right now, right? So there's criticism, and then Contra mentioned trashing, and then there's this like nebulous canceled that I feel like encapsulates perhaps both of them sometimes. It's kind of difficult. So any of the above.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say. I don't recall ever being like canceled or the subject of animosity or in a negative sense, because before streaming I was a waiter for 8 years, and I so the empathy and the sympathy are just through the roof. Like it's like I practice sociology for 8 hours a day. It's like I'm getting in your head to know what you're here for. Like what are you here to do? And I want to be your allies. I'm here to align with your ideology and be your friend and be memorable as well, all in under an hour. So it's like it's hyper accelerated friendship. So it's like it's all I know how to do really, really well. So when I brought all that skill set to streaming, I knew what to not do. Don't name drop anybody. Don't gossip about anybody that you're not prepared for it to be completely public and be, even before clip culture, you knew it could be taken out of context here. So it's whatever you say publicly on a public forum or platform like Twitch or YouTube or live broadcasting or any kind of tangible, hard inked medium like text writing on a post on any given social media or in a video form, you gotta be prepared to like deal with that if it ever resurfaces years later, months later, weeks later, tomorrow, whenever. So I've always like never like anyone I've ever shitted on, I always did in a complete like full accountability, unapologetic. And there's really only 2 people I've done that for. I don't have to say them right now because I would derail into who those people were, obviously. But there's only people I've done that for, and it was like I was very okay with like my name being attached to being negative about them because they are piles of garbage that I don't care about at all. But I can't recall being canceled for anything or anything cancel-esque other than, unfortunately, the topic we've brought here before here, which again, we can talk about again if you want to. It's just gonna be it's a lot to unpack and get into again. But if you find it important to make the conversation more than just one event from Janami, then we can talk about it again. It's not a big deal.
Well, from my understanding, yours went pretty well because you did step back. When you were stepping back though, if you want to give like a brief what happened, and then one of the questions I wanted to ask you about that is when this was all going down, you did still step back a bit, right? Even though the internet was coming at you pretty hard. How?
That's correct.
That's gotta be difficult to do, I would say.
Yeah, it was wild. So short version, October 2018, I was playing the new Mario Party with a friend. It was a friend of a friend who wasn't familiar with Twitch etiquette. They were already kind of buzzed when they came over, and we played Mario Party. We were talking a lot of trash talk. They were using a lot of derogatory words and terminology, screaming at me again, again, while being buzzed. Here's the whole atmosphere. And I was like, you know what? Y'all play like, and I used a single syllable F slur in a pejorative, derogatory manner towards them. But again, they were my IRL heterosexual friend. So it wasn't about their sexuality. Obviously, it was more about like how they were playing. But I was still using a word associated with that kind of hurtful intention towards them. And if it wasn't anyone LGBTQIA in my chat, then yeah, they probably were hurt by it from Crossfire Association. I recognized it as soon as I said it. I was like, oh, I don't even use this word anymore. I don't know why I did that. I was heated in the game at that moment. I wanted to like top him in explicitity, and I immediately apologized. I apologized a second time in the stream, probably for my profuse apologies. Brought more attention to what I said and did out of guilt admission. So I got reported. I don't know. I'm speculating here. I got reported for it, and I got a 30-day suspension from Twitch. And unfortunately, because I'm a big target, me getting suspended is newsworthy. So that became a Kotaku article without my consent. And then now everyone knew that the headline, Trihex used a homophobic slur and it's banned from Twitch. So the headline makes it sound much worse than what it actually was if there was elaborative context applied here. But at the same time here, it's not I knew it wasn't my role to like, me, and like downplay because it's like I told some kid to go like, kill himself or whatever. It wasn't my role to like downplay what I did because what I did ultimately was wrong. That's why I admitted it directly on my own stream, unprovoked here. But that I really wanted to be like, well, I wish I could just see what I said and did. That way you knew what actually happened. But that delegitimizes my apology I delivered as well because it's like I'm only sorry that I got caught. I want you to feel bad for me only because like I didn't do as bad as I actually did or whatever. So that in short is what happened. It was a 7-day suspension from Twitch. I did an apology on Twitter, and I came back in and I elaborated further after I was unsuspended about like how I've changed and I've reflected on my actions. And then so there's a lot more I can go into there, but I'm trying to keep it short for you, right? So that's the short version of what happened October 2018, a year and some change ago at this point. But back to your point you were making here about that, Eva, was that when I was suspended, so I was suspended for 7 days, and yeah, I had a lot of the Kotaku article got a lot of clicks. My Twitter apology got a lot of views. And there were I saw a lot of toxic things in my Twitter mentions, unironic, kill yourself, and wow, you're a homophobic bigot, and you're just, and you're essentially, I'm getting canceled by people who had never seen me before. The first time discovering me was, I don't know, probably a combination of, oh, he has that racist emote, and oh, he's also a bigot. Wow, who would have knew? And they put it together and they called it a day. So I had an uphill battle of like external traffic coming in, only seeing the worst impressions of me. Some of them out of context, some of them misinformation, and in conclusion that okay, yeah, he's an idiot. Fuck him and move on. There's a lot of that. I ultimately just like didn't look at Twitter for quite a while, honestly, and I stepped away from the internet. I wasn't online. I was more. I was calling IRL friends. I was calling friends I knew who were gay, so I can just ask them like, get there. Listen, I was listening to them. Tell me about when you got called this, if ever, or what's your relationship with that word. And I was doing the insightful thing and all that, and I was shocked to the things I was learning. I was like, oh, it's like that. Okay, damn, I didn't know. You know, because again, to be totally honest here, I've heard it way more in toxic gaming environments where it's more about you're being called that word because of your behavior in the game you're playing, and it had nothing to actually do with your sexual orientation. But it doesn't make it, you know, any less harmful
Mhm.
or harmful of intent here. So I knew better, but I didn't really possibly evaluate the whole thing there. So I was off the grid, taking more, calling people, taking phone calls, going to the gym. I was at the gym a lot. I hit the gym hard because I was like, man, I'm about to, I'm so whatever. But the turning point though is actually, I'm sorry, I should tell you about that. Actually, that's not relevant here. But yeah, yeah, it took a lot of willpower to just not get on there. But I also know better because I know that whenever, again, go back here to the whole waiter thing, communication can't be undone. There is like I can say something right now that I would regret. I can't undo it. I can only like try to repair and amend to what I just did to you, but it can't be undone, right? So in that regard, you know, because I'm a known person or whatever, I know way better than, you know, fire off on Twitter and be like, yeah, you know what, fuck, you know, and do all that stuff, right? Like if you're emotionally irrational, step away because you're only gonna like burn more bridges, or you might do some things you're not completely evaluating the risk assessment of. So I knew to step away. People are gonna wall out because the internet's gonna like, you know, they just want to, you know, impulsively fast forward to the good or bad binary judgment system here. But like, you know, if they weren't willing to evaluate your character anyway, then they were never on your side to begin with here. So
Mhm.
you learn really quickly how fickle everything is, all things, whenever you're in a situation like this here. Because like, man, they're like, oh, I thought I knew him. Cancel. There's no nuance because these kind of things are just like, you know, typically not so black and white.
Mhm.
So that's the yeah, I just like I knew better to step away, and I knew better to really sit down and take it slow. So I'm happy I had 7 days of suspension to evaluate because the first four, yeah, I was a stereotypical like, you know, why me? What aboutism? Other people say do worse than me. This is like some double standard bullshits because blah 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 blah. All that cliche crap. That was me in the first 4 days. Then like things turned around day 5, 6, and 7 from the reflection and the reforming, and now I'm a better person because of it. So yeah, that's both what the incident was as well as how I handled all the negativity and bounced back for it.
Yeah, thank you, Trihex. Thank you. And I think what seems to be the pattern here is maybe listen to people who are hurt, but also recognizing that like Trihex getting hit with a lot of like very angry people. And you said you just stepped away from Twitter for a while, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's my heart, like the difficulty I will have for sure is that like not going in and trying to respond to the frustration because I'm like, I want to fix it now. We're fixing this problem now, and sometimes that's not a good thing to do. Uni, have you had any moments like this yet, or not so much?
Not so much. I do keep everything pretty generic. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I uh, I I love to listen. That's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite thing. I love to
Mm-hmm.
listen. I like to go on the streams and listen. I'm probably like I like try to speak up if I do, but I'm a big lurker. I do listen, especially in like more leftist streams now, and I like to hear people's problems and stuff like that. And I caught on pretty quickly when I joined Twitch some of the no goes and here goes and watch these and if this conversation is derailing this way and stuff like that. And I'm very like exclusionary when it comes to like being personable sometimes. So I probably won't say anything like I know most common dog whistles and I know like I try to like be informed when I know where I'm going to be. Like if I'm playing a scary game or a multiplayer game with someone, I know which words to like, kind of stay away from and stuff like that. And since I play with more queer people, we also know them too. But I've seen more canceling than I have experienced. I was there for that particular situation because you asked me to be on that panel. I don't like it at all. I don't like the word. I don't like the culture. I think it's just illuminated too much to the point. It's understandably like if it happens, because I think it's a difference between it if it happens within a small party, not online, than when it does. Because like yeah, that happened and everybody was like blowing up on it and they were angry as they should have been. But like in that particular situation, you got to understand like that was like a particular part of the stream where it was like all allies. They're gonna be misinformed. Some of them might be a little ignorant. I know it's more of like we're not here to teach every ally this and that. No. But like, come on. Like most of them won't have the motivation too, so I understand the emotions go behind it, but I think it's all emotions. And I think I was just gonna say everything like sometimes you just need to take a step back and listen. Yeah, just take a step back, take a breather and listen. If I would probably think of doing all the stuff that Trihex did if like I was currently being canceled for something. Reflect on what you're doing. Try not to take everything too personal, but do take it in seriousness. But because most of them, like I said, will come out of nowhere and try to cancel you for unnecessary reason without even knowing who you are. I would go to people that I know, like I'll ask Eva, so like was I wrong in this? Like, what is your opinion? I would go to other people. I would I would go to people that I know me, and they know I didn't mean any harmful intent. And if they thought I meant harmful intent and I valued them as a friend, they valued me, I would listen, And I feel like most people who get canceled just go on Twitter and have a fiasco attacking these people that don't even know you, don't even know your character. And then that makes you even more angry. That makes you even more heated because you're like, they don't know me. I was just, it just happened in the moment. And oh my God, I know I was wrong, but you don't know me. I just like, take a step back, take a breather, go to the people that now know that and that you have these close relationships with, and that that you value their opinion and everything. You just go and see like, what did I do? How can I improve from your perspective? I don't think like going online is everything because it's just gonna be illuminated like and I think like I already know that people who care about you on Twitter won't go to the lengths of like going with the cancel culture and stuff like that. Like I could never see Eva canceling somebody else on Twitter just openly.
I
from
don't
my
know.
experience.
I'm coming for you, Uni.
You are okay.
Try
Can I real quick here? Yeah. One thing you're like making me really acknowledge here too is like whenever you have a confrontation with another person, and like like AKA I guess the equivalent of an online canceling, right? Offline, physical IRL, actual human interaction, how it resolves and how it like plays out is totally different than literally the same intensity of an interaction online. Like online, it's literally gamified. It's like, oh, it's a game now. I get to see how hard I can push your buttons and piss you off, and since you're a perceived negative, and I don't have the elaborative context to make a nuanced decision, just to already have the mob telling me that you're negative now. So I'm gonna push your buttons. And that's like it's crazy how the two things are totally different. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I interrupted you. And I think something really important is to clarify, like, we aren't saying everyone that does that is doing this. It's just there's going to be the people critiquing, and then the people who have this nebulous, like, Trihex said homophobic slur, or Trihex is homophobic, or whatever the case may be, and suddenly learning about you and wanting to say something. And almost, again, like, we can go back to Twitter and how Twitter incentivizes this. Like, this is incentivized because I made a tweet recently where I was like, I literally made a tweet trying to like say, hey, please don't do this. And the reason that I'm tweeting and quote tweeting this person is please don't go and harass them. I'm trying to let other people know this is happening. This is how it's playing out. Please don't do this for this reason. And please don't go after this person. And mine was very tame. And then someone else with, I think, like a similar amount of Twitter followers, like went off about that person, didn't go to that person. And I'm very thankful for that, but went off on that person a lot harder. Like, I don't want to say criticize them, but like was very angry. And that anger got so much reaction. Whereas my more tempered criticism, not so much. And like there could be a variety of factors in that, but it makes me wonder, like, Twitter incentivizing this can be a pretty frustrating thing, because anger just gets so much reaction, and that can be difficult because there are people out there doing that important criticism. And so at some point I think like I need to be able to sift through and get that important criticism and respond to the criticism and understand, like, people are obviously angry. It can come from a place of hurt. And then some of these people are absolutely just there to, like, I don't know you, but I'm piling on. There's like a pile on aspect. So it's like, it's being able to navigate this. Yeah, Trihex. Navigating this is a mess.
The problem here, and it's so hard to talk about the behavioral tendencies of these situations when, again, if we can agree that how they happen physically IRL compared to how they happen online simulation, that they are different, then we have to get into the ecosystem and the foundations of how those are, what they function through online. And the problem here is, I don't want to get this whole like anti-social media rant, but it's like, a lot of the things here are gamified. If we're having an interaction right now and it was happening on social media and we're both like, falling for the bread and butter of the intent of being hostage to the platform, then our interactions are not happening naturally. They're engagements that are meant to be gamified by farming for likes and farming for the mob to be on your side. So it's no longer a true neutral bias here, or neutrality bias. It's now like, it's all about like, I need to win, or I need to like, win my audience over, and have constant reinforced likability. And that's the problem. Whenever you have these extraneous factors of the platform's rule set dictating how we communicate, it's going to be a shit show until then. That's the real issue. But even then, you don't have to change. I'm not saying you have to like get off social media, because obviously we're all on at this point. But more that there needs to be the acknowledgement that we're not in a neutral communication realm / medium. The rules here are different, and being able to like step back and understand when you're being hypnotized to like do these gamified things is really important to acknowledge.
Yeah,
I think that's a real one.
So where do we move forward from that? Does anyone have any ideas? I know my thing has just been, I'm not going to be a jerk on Twitter, and I'm trying to balance out and be wholesome as fuck, but it's hard. We're on Twitter, right? Like, good luck with that. What are your thoughts on? Yeah, what are your thoughts on moving forward?
I want to chime in here a little bit as someone who studies communication studies. So that is literally what my entire university, well, half of it, but philosophy and communication studies, right? But that's a big part of it. And communication, if you start thinking about it, is incredibly complex, and there is just so many layers. And the biggest reason I feel like the cancel culture is a thing, and like Twitter is the worst offender of all of that. Literally, the worst offender is just, think of the biggest difference in meeting in real life and meeting online. It's very simple. There's a lot of less input, right? Information being processed. If I say, I love you, and if I say, I love you, that's two completely different sayings and completely different meanings. But if I type it out, it's both times going to be exact same thing. If I say now, Super Smash Bros., Eva's going to have a much different association than Trihex and Uni, who will just be like, okay, I don't know, that's just completely random. But we had a joke on a previous panel. So communication also works a lot in that we fill in gaps, right? We have that core of a message, for example, I love you. If I message that just randomly to anyone, I love you, they will then add more layers, right? Is this now taken ironically? Is this sarcastically? Is this honestly? Is this coming from, are they just saying this because they're drunk and it's like not even one or the other? And Twitter has even a limit on how much you can say, and you can only vote. You can't even like give proper responses. You can't vote. Is this bad? Is this good? You can retweet it, and it can be both. It could be you retweet it because you like it. You can retweet it because you absolutely hate it. And so this is something that, let's not go social media rant here. It's something that is a big issue of our time, of course, and I feel like something that we need to learn, and probably something that we are going to learn about. Like, we are the like Zoomers are growing up more with this. Boomers have no clue what all of this is about. But memes aside, this is something we will eventually gain a lot more knowledge and skill in. But something that perhaps we are still lacking big time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we got a long way to go. Yep.
For sure. I know, I think it might have been Patch I was talking to, or one of my mods, I think, was saying, like, we've had a long time to figure out communication in person, and now we have the internet, and the internet's relatively new, and then social media being relatively new, and finding out kind of the rules and the boundaries and the social norms to create. And that's something that I know, like, that's kind of fair. We've taken a while to figure out things, and we've developed in such a different way in person communication, and now we're trying to figure out this whole internet thing, and it can be wild here. So
yeah, so you asked earlier, how do we fix things, how we make it better, or just
how
less
do we
worse,
improve?
right?
Yeah,
How do we improve? There's a couple of, what comes to mind for me are two things. I mean, I'm trying to make it an anti-social media thing, but one is like the idea that no matter how uninformed your thought is, it's important and worth sharing, and that everyone's post is of equal importance. This facade, I feel, is relatively delusional, because people will just like stick to their, if you call out their, I don't know, whatever their thing may be, it goes to like, oh, you're attacking my value and my integrity. Well, oh no, you're just misinformed here. I would like, because you made it a public post on a forever inked medium, like typing on the internet. But that's like a more of a specific platform issue, right? Really, the other thing here is that in general, the internet has caused a hyper acceleration of communication on a global scale, and we don't have the infrastructure to deal with that, both in mental health capacities as well as, honestly, the ability to just even respond candidly here. Like, that's the other issue here. Think
yeah,
about how much communication you exude physically IRL, as Janami was saying here earlier. When it comes to eye contact, tone, pacing, body language, etc., afflection, pronunciation, etc., right? And how much of that is just lost. Like, it's like 93% of what you're communicating is lost when it's text only. And we have absolutely dog shit level of competence to be able to replicate that through text. We have tone modifiers, aka emojis. You have, I guess, italicus if you want to use that sarcastically or whatever, but in bold and caps lock and capitalization. But like, these are all just simulations, and we're still like nowhere near the 93% that we're losing on just words of what words you chose versus how they are conveyed, right? And that's the problem there. As long as we have like these limited communication mediums that are not catching up with our ability to communicate, but we still judge them like we are communicating IRL, it's gonna be a shit show.
yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah. It's a huge
So
problem.
I don't know how that really gets fixed. I don't know if it's like, you gotta like do like a PSA for 20 years straight until people like get it, but like that's kind of the whole thing right there. All I can really, so what I typically do is I just like, if the problem, of course, is, okay, sure, you can just like say what you want to say, and then you like add like I don't know, like 3 to 4 disclaimer tweets following your initial tweet about like what you specifically mean and what you don't mean by what you're saying. The problem is nobody reads past the first tweet, right? When you do that repetitively. So it's like, okay, well, it doesn't work either. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah,
That's more of a
and
platform specific problem, but like yeah, that's the I feel the frustration, not even just with canceling, but even just with like wanting to engage further on social media because it feels like you have to say what you mean and then elaborate. Retweets don't mean endorsement. I meant this. I don't mean that. I don't know this person here. Don't assume this. And it's like, yeah, it's exhausting, honestly.
yeah.
And the bigger you are on the platform, the more like, honestly, you're kind of incentivized as you climb that tower to just be less personable because there's more to lose than there is to gain,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because that's like kind of like that's like the opposite of communication. Like you don't want to regress. You want to exude more. You want to share ideas. You want to express your thoughts.
That's exactly.
But ugh.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Like, I want to start learning about capitalism, right? And I'm trying to do that. And so sometimes, like, I threw out a tweet that was just kind of a thought, but now I have like a whole lot of anti-capitalists on my Twitter and other people who are a lot more informed and like coming after me, like, you're alienating the working class or like other issues, right? And I'm like, I'm just learning and I need you to know that I'm misinformed, but it's okay to like let me know, but also no, I'm not like putting this out there as like the law, right? And I feel like I come forward as a feminist and people expect me to be an authority, and I'm trying to share a communication and like have a conversation with you. I'm not telling you how it is, you know, and that tone getting lost can be very sad, I think. And then also just like that ability to be like, you can engage like you would with your friends. You have to be very clear in your communication and say, as you said, like exactly what you're saying and think it out very carefully. And also like no drunk or high tweeting. Something I learned very recently. My mod team was like, Eva, what did you say here? And I'm like, oh, that didn't make sense at all. Like, it made sense to me, but like I've got all the feminist theory, all the queer theory, and then I'm looking at this tweet and I'm like, do I gotta delete it?
Yeah, I do not thrive on drunk streams. I've never done before because I'm just like this sounds like hell. Why would I want to? Why would I want to do this? Oh my god.
Drunk
Yeah.
speed runs.
So I am a karaoke god when I'm
don't speak too
blitzing up.
soon.
Only when I'm blitzed. Only when I'm like
Okay.
shit. Like again, I found out because you know when we were out in LA, I was like we went to like Koreatown and yeah, we just man, not to derail here, but like yeah, that I learned real quick like you know 2000s hip hop is like my forte. Like I was like I didn't want to do any ballads, but when it was like 2000s Kanye West or Dr. Dre or whatever, I was like, yo, this is I'm ready. Give it to me.
I love that.
So what you're saying is during TwitchCon, we need to go do karaoke?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Why are you all so far
I didn't get it.
Sorry,
Actually,
Janami.
real talk. Okay, so to make this cozy again here, I didn't get the whole like going out to like I hate to call it normie bars, but like what regular bars, right? Like you know, just go to the nearest bar and just like people you don't know are there, and you all just go get shit faced, talking to random people or whatever, right? Like you're making connections there. To me, that like drains me. I don't thrive at all. I don't know anybody there. No like co-association or overlapping activity we all enjoy. Like it's like going with coworkers, right? It's like I get off work to escape work, not to get here and get shit faced and complain about work for another 4 hours, right? Like that sounds like insanity to me. I'd rather let me do anything else but talk about work. You know what I mean, right? So in the same, I didn't get like what the thriving or what the benefit of it was until I was at TwitchCon, and I'm like, oh, when I go to a TwitchCon party or a Discord party, and it's all like streamers there, this is what they feel like. This is what my coworkers feel. They feel together in common with them. Because here I want to get
different
drunk.
species.
Here I want to drink. Here I want to I want to get done here, and I want to go karaoke after this, and I want to go to the after party at room like 420 and like you know chill there and do more shit. Like 6 a.m. comes like that, and I'm like, yo, I gotta behave now. You know, whatever. I gotta get for tomorrow. yeah, like time flies, and I thrive socially at TwitchCon.
Same.
But it didn't hit me until like 2018, where I'm like, oh, that's what normie people feel.
I
Normie
relate
people.
to
That's
this
crazy.
so hard.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to call them or like it or whatever. Like just
Normie people. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
People who aren't extremely online, people who live
Yeah.
IRL. Like,
Who are
That's
they?
the Facebook spectrum. It's just called, in the best terms I can make it here, the Facebook spectrum. Their reach is Facebook, and it's like that's where they're at.
The reach is Facebook.
yeah. That's fair.
They
Still have a
That's
Yahoo.
fair.
They still have a Yahoo email.
Oops.
No, I relate to that really hard though, honestly. I know, like, we actually had a celebration New Year's Eve stream where I was like, yeah, I'll drink a little bit because why not, right? It's a celebration stream. I just don't drink. I'm just not, I don't know. It's okay. Like, I'll have my first drink and I get a little tipsy or maybe a little more than tipsy. Then I'm like, But then I go to TwitchCon and I'm like, I want to drink and then I want to go hang out with people. And I'm so excited to, I'm excited to wake up and go to, like, someone go get vegan breakfast with me. Like, please. I'm so
Let's go.
excited. So, yeah, TwitchCon was also a really, like, just probably my favorite part of the year, honestly. I know Janami
feel
got to
that so
go.
much.
Uni, we gotta drag you along sometime when you're not working 40 hours and
I know.
doing like.
I went to
massive-
2018 TwitchCon.
you?
I went to 2018 TwitchCon. But I am going to 2020 TwitchCon because I just felt like
Hey.
I feel like 2019 that like nobody I knew was going, and yeah, I go to Twitch. There's a lot at TwitchCon. Like I was surprised going because I went to TwitchCon 2018 for the people, honestly, like just to meet up with the people and people who like watch my stream. They're like, "You're going to TwitchCon, we got to meet up and have lunch and stuff like that." That was the exciting part. But actually like the booths and everything and the events they were having at TwitchCon was really impressive and impressed me a little bit for how short I guess TwitchCon has been going around has been like happening now. So I want to see what happens at 2020. I'll see they step their game up. It is in the same place, which kind of like was like to me, but I'm excited. I can't wait to meet all the wonderful people.
Yeah, I'll be excited to have you there. And now we just need to fly Janami out and we'll be set.
I know.
I would love to.
was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Have any of you? Well, I know Janami hasn't, and you went to the one in the States. Have you gone to one outside of the States, Trihex?
Well, there's only I think TwitchCon EU only happened. I think they only started this year, right?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, like
That's the first
it being, it being in Amsterdam, or no, it was
Manchester?
Last one was in
Berlin.
Berlin.
I'm freaking-
Berlin. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go because it was only a 2-day event. It was the first event, so I'm like, okay, like I'm going international. It's only a 2-day event. I'll wait. I know it's going to be a 3-year next year. I'll just wait. That's why I didn't push it. They also announced the dates mad late. Like it was confirmed for April, like in
March or something.
January or February. Like it was like
Mm.
stupid late. I'm like,
It was insane.
yeah, it was like not organized that well in my opinion. So
Mm.
hopefully it'll be better in 2020. We'll see. But yeah, I passed. It was a hard pass for me on 2019.
Spoiler, it's not.
It's not. Not what.
It's not that it's happening in Amsterdam. And it's the
Mm.
same weekend, same week, Formula 1 is happening in Amsterdam and Eurovision Song
Oh.
Contest.
The hotels
like,
are going to be
it's-
terrible, right?
There is just none. There is just not a single
None.
hotel that was like, yeah, there's either none or you pay like 300 per night. It's insane. Like we
Bad
found
planning.
something outside. We're gonna be 20 people in one apartment, a big apartment.
Make sure.
And we're like 1 hour away or so, like 50 minutes, 1 hour away.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Jeez.
Yeah,
It's gonna be great though.
I'm sure it'll be more about you and the group that you're like rooming with at that apartment going on a journey together more so than the whole TwitchCon thing. Because
Yeah.
that's like that is yikes. That is yikes to deal with there.
Yeah.
I've had the luxury of having 8 to 10 people in one hotel room for the max poverty strats. Was not fun. That sucked.
Yeah.
That super sucked.
That sounds
Yeah.
terrible. What is each of your advice for TwitchCon? Because I think the main thing I learned was like